Well, hey everybody, what's going on? I'm Diana, the Death Pile Diva, and you are tuning into Interview With, a new show where I interview successful resellers to learn more about their business so we can grow our reselling businesses, with their advice. So today I am beyond honored, excited, so many emotions. We have Jen from Jen's Addiction here. Oh my God. I am so honored to have you. Yeah, I could go on forever, but I won't. Let's just start with like a really fun question. Well, first of all, how are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Yeah,
Hanging in there?
it's a strange time of year. There's, summer slowdown, which affects all of us resellers, and so it kind of it gives you time to focus on other projects. But I'm doing
Yes,
good. Oh,
absolutely. Okay, well, let's see. I'm going to start with kind of an icebreaker question, something kind of silly and fun. Now, I know that you source pallets mainly, but for this little example, let's just say maybe you're going to like, I don't know, a huge warehouse, whatever. So you're off to your favorite sourcing spot or whatever it may be. I want to know, what are you drinking? Do you have like a Starbucks drink or something? What's playing? Do you have any music? And are you doing AC or windows? Because that's a big factor for me. So what are we drinking on like our hour-long drive to our sourcing spot?
okay, what are we drinking? I have my water with me, but it has caffeine in it. I'm one of those where I really love my caffeine, but if I get too much too quick, I get jittery. So I kind of feel like I need a steady drip throughout the day rather than a whole bunch all at once. So I drink a lot of water, and I have my flavored caffeinated water with me. So
I
yeah,
love that because I don't drink coffee. So that
right.
it's not you need a little boost once in a while, right?
I
I
do.
love that.
Yep.
Okay, staying hydrated and caffeinated, fantastic. And then what are you playing the radio? Do you have a playlist? Are we driving in silence? Like what are we listening to?
That's a fun scenario. It's been a long time since I did any sourcing. I don't get to do that a whole lot. I used to go and do the live like where you could go live preview and all of that. But right now, my husband does all of our sourcing, so he's the one that is reaching out and working with contacts and all of that. I basically get updated of what's coming in, when it might be here, or I get a lot of last minute like, "Hey Jen, we've got 4 pallets showing up in the garage in about 20 minutes. So ready or not, here it is, and this is
So
what it
deal
is."
with that.
So
Yeah.
I get a lot of last minute. It's happening now. Um,
Okay, so
yeah. So as far as me sourcing, yeah, my husband does most of our sourcing.
there you go. Yeah.
So,
And then, well, if you are in the car, do you prefer, because also we're both in the western side of our country. It's a little hot here right now. Do
right.
you prefer AC or windows?
AC. AC.
Okay.
And sometimes with the seat heaters on, even if it's 95 degrees out. I love it. I don't know what it is, but nice heat on my low back and like just get comfy. The AC, I'm a little of both at the same time. So
There's nothing better than like a frozen face and a really warm back.
I don't know if a lot of people will relate with that, but yeah, that's where I'm at.
That's my heaven. Yeah. Freeze the front of me and warm the back of me. Yeah.
Right?
Awesome. Very cool. Well, thanks for playing my little fun game. So
Absolutely.
let's see. So jumping into our real questions, let's say. So this first one really is a big question. So like what did you do, either your jobs or career, even lifestyle before reselling? And how did those skills and whatever you did kind of help you and like how did they transfer to reselling?
That is a very good question. Um, so the few years before reselling, I worked as first I was a manager and I was over the marketing department. I worked at a couple different restaurants. And if you know anything about restaurant management, it's a lot. They pull you in with all these promises of like you're going to make all this great money and and you don't realize that you are sacrificing all of your holidays, all of your nights, all of your weekends, all of your family time for them. And you're told, oh, it's salary, so it's going to be great. And you're then working 50, 60 hours a week, and to a point where you absolutely dread it. So I was doing that. And I remember those positions that I would rather jump out of the car and have an injury than show up at work one
Mhm,
more day.
mhm.
So I have that. And then I'd left that job and I'd gone more directly into marketing, where I was out and working with people. And that was for a restoration company. So I was working a lot with like insurance agents. And my job was to drive around from one insurance office to the next in like certain cities here in Utah and get to know these different insurance agents and let them know, hey, our company does this and this and this. And so it was my job to really understand the back end of what the company did and how I could help them, and just maintaining that relationship. So it really became like relationship oriented. And then I went to another position. So the last job that I had before reselling, I worked for the same owner of the restoration company, but he owned a software company, and he was building a software for restoration companies all over the United States. And so I would travel and do their trade shows. So I would fly out somewhere to Texas or Florida or Canada, and I would set up our trade show booth and our a computer and our equipment, and I would stand there and I would talk to people and I would explain the software and do teaching and training of it. And then as I sold that software, then my job was to like train those the employees over the next few weeks, work with them, show them, teach them how they could use the software and get it working great for their company and understand them. So it kind of went from like, management to marketing to people and trade shows. And I feel like there's so much of that that fits so perfectly with what I do now. As a reseller, you have to be the marketing person. You have to understand and be open to trying new things, and the social media aspect, and
Mhm.
um, constantly putting yourself out there. There was a lot of, I remember a comment that was made back when I was doing marketing where they said, it's kind of like throwing mud at a wall and seeing what sticks. You really just have to keep trying things and keep trying new things and keep trying. And some of it works great. Some of the reels I do work so great, and other ones they just kind of flop. And you're like, okay, what can I learn from this? And then you just have to keep trying again. So, right now we resell on Poshmark, on
Mhm.
Whatnot, on Mercari, on eBay, all these different places. And then you also have to learn social media for Instagram and YouTube and TikTok, which I feel like I'm such a newbie there. And you kind of have to put yourself in new positions all the time, and see what you can learn from it, and don't be afraid of change.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and I think a lot of us have, jumped from, or not jumped, but just transitioned in our life from like one career to this job to that, different
right,
opportunities. And I love that the last job you had was doing like a show.
right,
Like, oh my God,
right.
how perfect. Just
Um,
kind of like transition in there. Um,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
I love
definitely
it. I
sounds
mean,
like,
even now it's like there's Posh Fest coming up around the corner, and I'm looking forward to it. And I'm like, I keep thinking I need to create some content and be like, if you're going to trade shows, if you're going to a convention, because I have history there, I have a lot of experience that. And I had like for 2 years, we were doing those trade shows. And so I'm like, I should create some and say, hey, if you're looking forward to coming, if you're a reseller and this is your first Posh Fest, watch for these things, plan on doing these things, think about I've got a whole list of things that would help people. And yeah, I need to I need to create that content. But
yeah,
yeah,
like no pressure, but I would love that. That would
hey,
be
I need some pressure. Actually, I need some pressure. So just
okay.
text me and be like, Jen, when are you
A
doing
lot of
this?
pressure. Yeah.
Yes.
No, I mean, we have time. It's not till September, but yeah, that would be as a
Right,
Posh Fest newbie. Yeah, absolutely. Like, do these things, don't do this, like look out for this. There's little tips and tricks because I haven't been to a convention
right,
in years. And the ones I used to go to, were teachers. So like, so
right. This is a whole different thing. Yeah.
yeah.
A whole different thing. It's a lot of fun, but you have to approach it a certain way if you want to get the most out of it. It's expensive for a reseller to come up with the cost of the tickets and the flights and make all your arrangements and your rental car and get out there, plus your outfits. And you've got to plan all this so far in advance. You want to get the most out of it. You want to know how do I gain the most from this? And yeah, so
Yeah, that is such a good point. You're right, because it is a lot of money, right? The flights and the hotel and the this and the that. And yes, I'm looking forward to having a great time and just meeting you in person and so many other people.
Yes.
But, let's definitely get the bang for our buck.
Yep.
Awesome, fantastic. So you might know, but maybe you don't. You are considered a very successful reseller by the community.
Oh,
So
well, thank you.
yeah, I know. Like sometimes, it's nice to be told, like, yes, officially, people think you are successful.
I
So,
made it. I can stop now. I
right,
can
you're
just
done.
now. I don't have to work anymore. I'm there.
We're wrapped up. We're done.
Delusional. That's true.
That would be great if you were like, really sweet. Bye. Like,
Done. Done.
I'm out of here.
Yep.
And I was thinking this morning, I'm like, I've followed you for probably 2 years or so. But what change do you think really took, or change or changes took your business to that next level? Because I mean, you've always been like a fantastic reseller, but recently you really like, woo, like you're a shark. So like, what do you think was either like that one big change or maybe a series of changes that helped you just bump up your business?
Yeah. So there's been a few different things that have pushed me over the last few years. Anyone who has been a reseller for a while, you are aware of the fact that burnout is very, very real and we all face it. And I feel like that's probably not talked about enough. We all face burnout and there's a lot of different ways you can like learn to push through that. For me, I mean, so we've been doing this for about 5 years. We when we first started, my husband, I kid you not, he went out, he bought 2 pallets and parked them in my garage. It was mostly furniture and home goods. And he says, "Hey, could you see if you could sell this on Facebook?"
Oh my God.
Okay, sure. What? Yeah. So I started looking up the box codes, whatever. I'm not assembling all of this stuff.
Right, right.
I don't want to put it together. So I start looking at the codes on the side of the box, and you start learning quickly which codes actually have good information and which ones don't. And you find stock photos and you post it on there. And in the first week, I think you spent $400 on 2 pallets that first week, which is very low, but furniture is a little different than clothing. And in that first week, we'd sold $1,100. So we had recouped the entire investment and had more. And so he just went out and picked up a couple more and brought them back. And then your garage starts to become full and your basement starts to become full and your home starts to look like a warehouse. And then you get like it's got a natural progression to where, okay, now it's taking over my home. And then we need a storage unit and we need to sell in other places. So instead of Facebook Marketplace, let's look into Amazon. So we started selling on Amazon. And after about 9 months, we were generating enough income that he was able to quit his 6-figure job and help me. So he quit to keep buying pallets, sourcing, and help me pack it and ship it and help meet customers. And we opened a warehouse. And so then we're doing it local and people could come in and shop. And um, around this time, like we'd been doing that for about a year or so, had an 18-month lease on the warehouse. And I had my youngest baby, DJ, who's 4 now. So I had him. And that's right when COVID happened. And I'm like, that's okay. I'd rather be home anyways. I don't want to be at the warehouse. I want to be here with him. I'm feeling that mom urge to be here. At that point, I had 3 little kids. So DJ's the youngest, but at that time, I think I had a 5-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a newborn.
Oh,
So I'm feeling the mom, like the urge to be home. And so that's when I really like started listing online and moved into Poshmark. And we had a couple of clothing palettes and I really started leaning more towards clothing about that time. So we've been doing clothing ever since that point. Just because of how we were sourcing it and stuff, it's a lot easier. I feel like I go off on these tangents. And I'm like, what was the
no,
original
I'm
question?
fascinated that you started with furniture. Like, oh my gosh, I had no idea.
Yeah.
That
I
is
see I see
wild.
some people now doing clothing and then they're starting to buy the furniture and I'm like, oh, I've done that. I'm going the other direction.
Yeah, right, right.
There's pros and cons to both. You can pick up a couch for $100 and flip it for 300 in the same week if it's a $600 couch.
Right.
There's things like that you can't do as easily with clothing in the same week. So I think it allowed us to evolve and grow it faster in the beginning. Because clothing, I feel like you have to list quite a bit before it really starts to generate consistent, reliable sales that you can like rely on.
Yeah,
So yeah,
that's a really
it's
good
like
point. Yeah, especially, and I like how you said, you bought whatever the pallets for 400 and then you had 1100. So I feel like, yeah, like you said, you really just went with the
all of
natural,
that was reinvested. Yep.
right? And then you just reinvest it, which is uh, a hard thing to do because, when we get money, we're
You
like,
want to feel like you made
hey,
something and you want to go shopping, but no,
right.
we reinvested everything. So we've been doing that again and again and again over like it compounds over time. And now we look back and it's like, okay, we have over $1 million of inventory currently on site, and I don't have huge debts. I don't have credit card debts. I don't have, all of those things like over my head. So it's like if I got crazy and like, okay, let's just sell it all, even if it's sold low, we're not going to be in trouble. It's not like I can't pay off those debts or like, those kind of things where you get that stress. So my husband was always really good at watching. Like if the price is right, he always said, he's like, if the price is right, I'll buy it all. If it's low enough for what's there for the value, I will find the space. We'll open another warehouse. We'll get another storage unit. And there was one week, I remember the very first week we bought a lot, and it was 24 pallets. One week. Most of that was furniture, rugs, couches, dressers. There were probably 3 or 4 pallets of that were clothing at that time. That was like way back when. And I remember because we had our huge trailer that we would like load everything into. That was full. I was on my way to the U-Haul to pick up a second one, and just the anxiety of like, oh my gosh, I can't believe how much we just spent. But it was 5 grand. 5 grand. Looking back, I'm like, we dropped 5 grand on one pallet now.
Right,
But back
right.
then we picked up 24 pallets and had to like find the space to store it because it was just going so low. So we watch it. We're very careful. We watch a lot of different places. And if the prices are right, it doesn't matter where we're at with it. We know we're going to make the money. We'll make the investment. We'll work our butts off. We'll get the second truck. We'll open
Yeah,
we'll find the space. We will fill my house. And we have,
right.
I have some photos going back that it's just funny seeing my living room like full of shoes and clothing and purses and bags, and just because there was nowhere else to put it at the time. Anyways, it's
Well,
it's
but
been quite
that's,
a journey.
yeah, and that's something I've learned, being the death pile diva. I'm obviously very much like list your stuff and don't source when you don't have to and blah blah blah. But I've also realized recently, yeah, when the price is right,
That's
it
your
doesn't matter
opportunity.
where you are in your, systems of image, like you got to get stuff. And I mean,
Right.
not for everyone's, business model,
Right.
but
Because if you get it then, when the prices are not right, you can hold out. You can wait. You're not desperate. Desperation
yep.
is never a good thing in sales. You do not want to be desperate to buy, and you do not want to be desperate to sell. Like desperation is not where you want to be in this industry.
I'm writing that down. That is, yeah.
Right?
Oh, I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah, that's such a good point. Yeah, for sourcing and for selling, right? Both sides of it. You
Right.
don't
Both
want
sides.
to appear
Yeah.
desperate. Oh, oh, I love
Yeah.
that. Oh my gosh. That's another post right there. Perfect. Oh man, now this one is kind of a little interesting question. Um, what do what is one thing that you would like resellers to stop doing? Maybe you think like it would really benefit you, either like in their business, in the community, on social media, on Poshmark, like wherever. Something you're like, if we didn't do this anymore, ooh, things would be great.
The one thing that comes to mind is when we ask each other for sources. And you know what?
Well,
I'm
actually,
not
Jen,
saying
where do
I'm
your
not
sources
saying
come from?
not to. I'm not saying don't ask. I'm not saying don't ask because we share our sources a lot. We give them out. I've said, hey, if you want this source, if this is where, contact me. I've done those things where I share our sources all the time. What the part that drives me crazy is when that's the first question. You're
Right.
using me. I don't want to be used. No one wants to feel used. If I have an ongoing relationship and a rapport with someone and they're like, hey, Jen, I'm just looking for a new source. Can you share any information? I'm like, heck yeah, here, let me answer these questions. I would do this, I would do this, or I'll start asking them questions. Where are you at? What are you looking for? How much space do you have? How much money do you invest? Okay, knowing that information, I would do this, this, and this, keep aware, and I share that openly. But when the very first question is, where did you get your palette? And I've never talked to them before, they want my information, they disappear, and you never hear from them again. That's not a relationship. I
Mm-mm.
don't want to feel used. And those are the ones I shut down. I'm just like, close that out.
Good.
I that's they're not, it's time consuming for me to answer those questions. And I don't want someone to suck my time and
Mhm.
disappear. They're not
Absolutely.
worth my time at that point. As rude as that may sound,
No,
uh,
that's being healthy, I think. Like you
it's
are a
not.
busy woman.
I've got a lot going on. And if I can help a friend, I would more than like, I love to do that. I love to be there and answer those questions and see other people succeed. I want that. But if they're just going to take, if they just want that and they just leave, or there's no, it should be a give and take. It should be a relationship, not just give me what you have and I'm gone. Yeah. So
Oh, yeah.
that's my,
Yeah, and one of those people who was like, Jen, hi, pallets sourcing questions, and like, but again, we had a relationship, so it wasn't like,
right.
you're like, hey,
Yeah.
stranger. Like,
Right. Yeah. And I get both, but I think most of the time it's somebody that I know, but the ones that just come across and I look at the chat and I'm like, I don't know who you are.
right,
And
who are
they've
you?
lost my interest at that point.
Yeah, and they also that it's so silly because then it kind of makes them seem like, oh, if you get the pallet, like, well, that's the magic bullet. No.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And it takes a lot of time and energy for me to explain that and teach that. I'm like, you don't need to know where to buy. You need to know how to buy, how to source. How do I call these places? How do I look it up? How do I know if that's the right buy? There was someone we were trying to help a while ago, and I think of this conversation all the time. I don't remember their name. I'm really good at forgetting those details, so I don't hold on to it. But the situation, and someone asked, she says, how do I buy sources, or how do I buy pallets? And I said, where are you at? What are you looking for? I asked a couple questions, and she's like, oh, I'm here in this state, and I'm looking for blah blah blah. And I'm like, oh, there's a really great place near you. If you're able to go there, you can see it in person. That is so, like, if I was closer to there, I would definitely be checking out this place. And I told her the name of the place and the state, I'm like, it's in your state and this is the name of it. And she goes, oh, okay, so what city is that?
Stop.
And I was like, I don't know why I was just so shocked at that, because I'm like, what's your next question? Will you buy it for me? Will you sell it for me? Will you like, do you want me to, like, I don't know. I feel like if someone told me the name of a place, I'm Googling it. I'm looking it up. I'm doing the research. I'm checking it out. And the question I'm following up is, something like, oh, okay, I can see that they're here, and I'm asking, like, I'm letting them know I'm also willing to do some of the work, not just expecting them to hand over
What?
all of the information. Like, it's I can't just hand you everything. So
Yeah. Let's be a little more considerate of it's yeah, considerate, and also just that the like urgency, that like sense of urgency to like do your own thing. Like, yeah,
willingness to also put their own time and energy into it, not just expecting me to, you know what I mean? Yeah. I,
right.
I just wanted it to feel like, yeah,
Yeah, they're like,
that
so
they were
how do
going to
I
do
get
some of
there?
it, I guess.
What are the
Anyways,
driving directions from my house?
there must have been a question or two before by the time she'd asked that, I was really like, what are we doing here? But yeah, anyways, it's
Well, thank you for, just being open to people asking about sources and stuff, because I know it can be a very sensitive topic. And again, I will say, Jen 100% like does answer those questions. She does for me like all the time, like at least three and counting. And some really good advice too. I mean, she gives a ton of great advice. But definitely, and I think number one, contacting those the, your sources, getting in touch with people, that has been a game changer for me. So thank you.
right.
Now that has just been
Building
awesome.
relationships. Yeah, I think it really helps, because you're talking about like when you've reached out to the source, right?
Yes.
If you're looking at a new source, yeah, don't be afraid to call them, get them on the phone, ask them questions, ask them a lot of questions, ask for references, call those references, do the work, put in the work. and you're going to feel a lot better, and you're going to be able to pick up on those red flags, because every one of those scam companies, every one of the ones that are being shady, if you do the work, you're going to be able to pick up on that before they end up with your money.
Yes. Oh, oh, I love that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get excited. I'm like, yes, I want to put a star in right there. Yes. Now, on the flip side of that question, what is something that you would like to see resellers do more? Again, maybe in their business, in the community, wherever it is, what do you think we need more of?
Um, Try new things. I think I see a lot of people who've been doing it for a little while, or even someone that's brand new, and they kind of feel like this is what I need to do. Jen did this, so I need to. No, you don't have to do it exactly how Jen did it, or how Diana did it, or how anybody else did it. You've got to be willing to try something different and keep trying and putting time, whether it's a new platform that you're trying to sell on, or a new software, or a new source, or you've got to be open to trying new things and putting in the work. It is a lot of work. Anybody that says it's easy, how much are they charging for their course?
I'm glad you said it. Right. It's so
because
easy.
because they want you to believe it's easy so you can pay them, so it's easier for them, so they don't have to work as hard. It's a lot of work. It
Yeah.
is a lot of work.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. And even just not to like plug my post, but on Instagram, I just talked about reseller tuition. And like you need to make mistakes,
yes,
right? And you have to go through
yes,
the process. Like it's sure people can tell you all about reselling, but until you actually do it, you're really never going to learn.
right.
Yeah.
And when the hard things happen, you get a return on something that, a high dollar item sells, and there's an issue and you get it returned, or you did something wrong. You forgot to take a photo of a specific thing or mention it. There's little errors, or you sold two expensive things and you shipped the wrong ones the wrong direction. So when, the labels got swapped, any of these errors, these mistakes that you're going to make,
Yeah.
use that as your lesson. That's your education and reselling of what not to do. And the more painful it is, the more you need to learn how to not do it again.
Right.
That is your lesson. That is the better you can learn that and avoid that, and just focus on what you can control, because there's a lot that's not in your control. Am I going to have a sale today? That's out of my control. But can I list today? Can I make sure my stuff's being sold? Can I clean up my photos? What area can I focus on to give me the best opportunity to have sales?
Right.
And the things that are out of my control, like where is my focus or my control, I think is important for us to each identify.
I love that. Oh my gosh, that's fantastic. Oh, and I guess transitioning to our last question, another big question. What does the future of reselling look like to you? Like, where is reselling in 5 years? And I will say right now, I have absolutely no idea. So I
Right.
usually, especially with my teacher background, I always like to ask questions that I could answer myself. And this one, I'm like, I couldn't answer this. So, like, I'm sorry. But what do you think?
I don't think any of us, that is a very good question, but I don't think any of us can answer it, because look back at the last 5 years, how much has changed. 5 years ago, there was no live show entertainment. Here's a shirt, I'm starting a bid and it's running for this price, and auction style, that didn't exist. That didn't exist. So as far as like where it's going to go, I think we all have to be open to the fact that there is going to be change. And are we going to be hesitant, or are we going to be ready to jump on board? Are we going to be willing to try it out and test it out and see if it works for our business model? I think I think it comes back to that. And I can't say exactly how it's going to look 5 years from now, but I'm excited. I'm excited, and I really love this community. I love what we're doing. I'm passionate about what we do, and I think the fact that we really never know what's coming next, I think keeps it new and exciting. As long as we can avoid the burnout, then we can keep that
Right,
exciting.
right.
Balance between those two. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. Just be ready for change
Yeah.
because it is going to keep. Yeah, I mean, what, 2 years ago, we didn't have this live selling
Yeah.
craziness, but here we are,
Right.
and it's
Yeah.
over. Yeah, who knows? Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Well, this has been, I could talk to you for days. Oh my gosh. But I will let you go because you are a busy woman and you have so much going on.
Mm.
But I want to thank you, like, on behalf of the community for just being a role model. And of course, thank you for being on my show and yeah, just giving us your insight. It is greatly appreciated. Thank you so much, Jen.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right, guys, check in next week for another reseller and more reseller advice. Catch you on the flip side.